As far as Ligue 1 clubs go, USL Dunkirk are small. Very small. But things are about to change. 2 new stands, a 60% increase to our capacity, and we're still very small. We're going to need to get creative in our quest to be the most entertaining team in France. First, let's get you up to speed. Season 1, the transfer window was closed, so we built a tactic around our flair players and got promoted at the first time of asking. Season 2, there was data, so after some exporting shenanigans, I created Excitement Factor, a new metric weighting key passes, dribbles and shots to guide us in the transfer market. With new arrival Bruni and Simba leading the line, we finished 10th and comfortably secured another season in Ligue 1. Now with Season 3 looming, we need to refine the metric, retool our squad, and possibly reconsider our tactic. Let's start with the maths. Last episode, I analysed the performances of all players in Ligue 1 who played over 1,000 minutes in those 3 metrics I mentioned, key passes, dribbles and shots. This allowed me to determine the average output by position. I used that to measure players in Ligue 2, the French National and Belgian Jupiler Pro League, multiplying by the respective Opta League rankings to take into account the difference in levels of competition. The scores were then standardised so an average performer would score 100. This is fine. Shots are entertaining, as is sitting your opponent on their arse, and the weightings help keep things relative. But we need to get the ball forwards in order for the excitement to happen. We can't ignore those last-ditch tackles and blocks that get the crowd pumped. So let's add progressive passes, key tackles and shots blocked per 90. A progressive pass is a pass that moves the ball 10 yards closer to the goal than it previously was, or any completed pass from outside the penalty area into it. A key tackle is a successful tackle that occurs in your own defensive box. A shot blocked is a shot that is blocked.
Duh.
Same process as before. Lots of screenshots. This time I'm also including the top 2 Spanish divisions and the top tier in Portugal. Convert to CSV using an OCR tool, then tidy up into a nice little spreadsheet. And this time, Raspadori comes out on top. Raspadori. Before we use this to find some new signings, let's take a look at the squad. Excitement Factor isn't really built for goalkeepers, but Charles is doing well. Considering he's instructed to distribute short, his progressive passing numbers are surprising. Our centre-backs aren't exactly the most entertaining, but Mwanga in particular is providing defensive excitement. Our fullbacks are the stars, however. Between them they have all the metrics covered. Yin and yang. For the 2nd season running, Alec Georgian is our highest rated player. Midfield is a mixed bag. Ben Chama benefits from the addition of the new metrics with his above average key tackles and progressive passes. Sikongo offers the attacking output, while Sidorchuk was a disappointment. In the attacking positions, Eddie Silvestre tied Georgian with an excitement factor of 128. Bruni and Simba turned shot volume into goals. Enzo Bardet once again found himself amongst the elite when it came to open play key passes. But it's Gassine Yassine that I'm drawn to, the worst scorer amongst our forwards, yet he's the one I remember most because of moments like this. It's all good and well knowing how our players got on, but how do we compare to the rest of the league? First, for context, we struggled for possession. Just 42%, the 3rd worst record in the league. Now we can't see all the stats we want here, but we can find something relatively similar. Like instead of open play key passes at a team level, we can instead look at clear-cut chances created, and we're 3rd. Pretty good. We dropped down to 10th for shots, however. We're around the same spot for dribbles per game too. Defensively, we can't see key tackles, but we are active at tackling in general, 2nd most overall. Nor can we distinguish specifically shots blocked, but total blocks were coming in at 6th. So we've got a bead on our players, and we know where we need to improve as a team, so let's hit the transfer market. To do that, we need to talk finances. I'm going to keep this relatively simple. At the end of the 1st season, we had a bank balance of €1.5 million. At the end of season 2, our balance is now up to 11.25 million, just shy of 10 million profit. If we didn't have a net transfer spend of around 500k, that would have been over 10 million. 5.5 million was prize money for finishing 10th. Let's assume next season we regress and drop to just above the relegation places, so 2.75 million euros less. That means we can spend 7.5 million more this season and break even. Now last season we increased our wage budget by 75k per week. That resulted in us spending 3.25 million extra over the course of the year. So if we inject another 75k per week into wages, that will leave us with about 4 million for transfers. Now that would bring our wage budget up to 225k per week total, which across a 25-man squad would be an average of 9k per week per player. I will once again cap the absolute maximum I'm willing to spend on a single player to double that amount. It's a very basic approach, but it allows us to have a good handle on our finances whilst only worrying about the things we directly control. Right, transfers. So here's our shortlist. Well, about 60% of our shortlist. There were another 30 or so players who were never really considered likely. Now I've shortlisted for every position, even if we don't necessarily have a need there. Like goalkeepers, there was no movement. So this was utterly pointless. We do have a need at centre-back though. Let's start with Josip Perez. Into the last year of his contract, so he's been sold to Rijeka for pennies. Thina Masuk needs regular game time, so he's gone on loan to FC Rouen. There are some great players in Liga Portugal, Christian Devenish in particular, but the finances weren't right, so we stayed domestic and picked up Sinali Diamande on a free transfer and 15.25k per week. Him and Moranga should provide enough defensive excitement even if they don't impact the final third. At fullback, we're pretty well set. Our starters are good and we know they work in our system. Alec Georgian is in the last year of his contract, so we've given him a new deal, taking him up to 11.25k per week. Alan Linge's contract has expired though and we've let him leave. This is in part because Nolan Gals was available on a free transfer and was happy to be a squad player on just 5.5k per week. 3 of our double pivot was signed last season. 36-year-old Sidorchuk has decided to hang up his boots. It's no real loss. Maxime Etouin wants out, and that's even less of a loss. In fact, we gave him away for free. That opens the door for the arrival of Hines Sarosh. His shot blocking ability in particular should help address an area we're weak in. 200k and 6.75k per week. Now only 3 players played meaningful minutes in that position last season, so someone who can provide cover elsewhere too would be useful. Someone like Kylian Kaibue perhaps. He cost 425k and will earn 5.5k per week. Our attacking midfield options were slim. Albacete came inquiring about Amadou Sagna, and a 900k bid was enough to sway me. But the replacements were all too dear, wanting in excess of 20k per week. Except Bernie Cassigoi. He didn't want any money at all because he had no interest in joining. So it might seem crazy that I also went and sold Eddie Silvestre. In the final year of his contract, we were able to get 3.5 million euros for him. Don't worry, I have a plan. That plan starts with also selling Thomas Rodonnet. He's also in the final year of his contract and dropped down the pecking order. Moreover, Rodez were willing to make him our record sale, offering a cool 4 million. Umvakana was our first target. He'd been on our radar last season too. At 375k and just 3.2k per week, it was a no-brainer. And then I loaned him back to Kevali Rouen for the season. Because we also went on and signed Jeremy. For 725k from Gengan and 7k per week. Both him and Umvakana are left-footed and can play on the right wing if needs be. With Bruni and Simba having locked down the starting spot, that flexibility means I can assure Jeremy gets minutes. So that's 6 players in for 1.8 million. 9 players out, 7 permanent, 2 on loan, for 8.4 million. A net profit of 6.6 million euros. We've only increased our wage spend by 25k per week, which is perhaps a little foolhardy. Now that's more transfers out than in. And that's because it's time to make some tactical adjustments. The 4-2-3-1 has treated us well. Our instructions are minimal, designed to give players the freedom to create, but despite distributing short, we're struggling for possession. And despite encouraging to dribble, we're not. In terms of player roles and positions, the 3 attacking midfielders roam from position, again to provide that freedom, but it's our fullbacks who are the stars of the show, whilst the defensive 4 here barely contribute at all. So I want to make sure I'm platforming players appropriately, and giving opportunity for everyone to be involved. This might sound crazy, but it's time for a back 3. The additional centre-back is the key. He allows the wing-backs to push further forward with less defensive burden. He allows the pivot to get forward situationally. He allows the other centre-backs to step out and get more involved. By removing an attacking midfielder, we also create more space for our wingers to drift in and create. The centre forward is the runner pushing up against the backline. The 4 players behind are runners from deep. I'm really leaning into the freedom aspect here. The box-to-box midfielders, playmaking wingers and centre forward all roam from position. The box-to-box midfielders, playmaking wingers and wing-backs all dribble more. Everyone bar the centre forward and centre back takes more risks. There's a couple of team instruction changes too. We no longer play narrow, and I've explicitly told the keeper to distribute to the centre backs. I've also added shorter passing to encourage us to keep possession a little more. Out of possession has remained the same as before, a counter press that drops into a compact mid-block. Pretty standard stuff by now. In terms of roles, the wide players just drop back a tier. Oh, there are some specific player tweaks too. When Benchama plays, he's a defensive midfielder rather than a box-to-box midfielder. Georgian becomes a playmaking wing-back, and when Jeremy is used as a striker, he becomes a deep-lying forward. This is what it means for our squad depth. Kondo and Kaibue are our cover at left-back. Jeremy is cover on the right wing. Then we have 3 youth prospects who can be used in an emergency. Mohamed Kamara is a 16-year-old centre-back I'm very excited about, and the most likely to feature. Pierre Wanji has the makings of a promising striker, so he might also contribute, whilst Birdie Pete is probably the furthest away from being ready, but might make the bench on occasion. With that, I think we're good to go. First game of the season, and a backheel tackle is pretty outrageous. As is this scooped ball over the top of the defence, and Bardet's volley wasn't bad either. One thing has become clear. We love a good flick. Ladies, we love a dance. We love whatever the hell this was from Hashem. But what I really love is through balls from the half space, especially in injury time. After 8 games, we were top of the table, 7 wins, 1 draw. PSG are waiting, and Bruni and Simba was feeling impudent. As the game drew to a close, Riyad Hashem saw his name in lights. Just a shame about the 5 goals we conceded, really. Minor details. A 94th minute penalty was the difference against Marseille. We bounced back with 3 straight wins. First Strasbourg, then an absolute annihilation of AS Monaco, before we scraped past the 9 men of Nice. Our final game before the winter break saw us host Lille, who carved through us like butter. At the halfway point, astonishingly, we're 3rd. What the f***? There's an 11-point gap to Rennes 6th. Barring a seismic collapse, it looks like we're qualifying for Europe. Back from the break, and Bardet was breaking ankles as we scored thrice in the opening 11 minutes against Toulouse. And that's it again against Angers, and this time scoring the goal too. For the 3rd season running, we were dumped out of the French Cup in the 10th round, this time by Strasbourg. Rennes kept us humble, scoring a goal eerily similar to the previous season. Lyon held us to a goalless draw. Against Lens it finished 1-1. We needed our mojo back, and it came at Metz. Jeremy's opener was spectacular. And Simba's 94th minute winner, emotional. Wins against Saint Etienne and Rodez followed, but then came the slump. No shame in losing away to PSG, nor at the Velodrome against Marseille. Against Brest, Nsimba rescued a point. It took a brace from Jeremy to seal a draw against Monaco. We got back on track against Strasbourg, followed by an all-too-easy 3-0 drubbing of Nice. Lille were next, and they really have our number. A Baldanzi brace, adding to Pinamonte's opener. We wrapped up the season against Paris FC. A hat-trick for Jeremy.
Jeremy scored a goal today,
earning him a perfect 10 as we finished strong. 4th place. That's insane. The defeat to Lille saw them leapfrog us in the penultimate game, but I can't be mad. We scored 8 more goals than last season, conceded 10 fewer. Rooney and Nsimba finished as top scorer, not just for us, but for the whole of Ligue 1. Yassine's 19 goal contributions were identical to Silvestra's output last season, but it was Sami Benchama pulling the strings in midfield that stood out for me. His excitement factor for the season backs it up, our second highest scorer, just behind Jeremy. Despite all scoring below 100, I'm encouraged by our centre-back numbers here. This is a marked improvement on last season, and our wide centre-backs are actually helping ball progression. Of course, I should point out that these scores are using the weightings from last season. I need to recalculate with this season's data, but that will be for next episode, where I'll refine the metric further by introducing the frustration index, and we'll see how we get on in the Champions League. See you then. If you enjoyed this episode, please consider leaving a like or maybe even subscribing. And if you want to support the channel further, you can join these wonderful folk currently adorning your screen, either as a YouTube member or Patreon, where you'll get access to a raft of benefits including director's cut videos. Details, as always, in the description below.